Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second weekly Limiting Belief Recycling program for my blog, unboxedadventure.wordpress.com. Today's guest is Dr. Valerie Solheim. Valerie has her doctorate in Jungian psychology. She's a trained quantum biofeedback practitioner, and she has done subtle energy work through reconnective healing, and now she's committing a lot of her time to the bees and that very important issue that we face with their well-being. So as a part of this whole series of the Limiting Belief Recycling program, we're talking about ways that we are not living true to who we really are, to our heart wisdom, and where that's limiting us, and how we can get out of and recycle that type of thinking. So today, Valerie's going to talk about her book. I have it right here, The Beehive Effect, Ancient Rites and Quantum Principles. And at the end of this interview, I'll have Valerie give you her contact information so that you can get more information on the fascinating work that she's doing. So Valerie, welcome today. And one of the big questions that I want to jump into right away as a part of this, our thinking and how that's limiting us, is how have our thoughts kept us from being resonant with the bees?
One is our Western brain that categorizes everything and reduces everything to a function. For example, bees are pollinators, or if I make breakfast every morning, that must mean I am a cook. And so we reduce entities, organisms, to a fraction of what they are. And the other one is our need to see to believe, because what the bees generate is a frequency field that is beneficial for everything within its range, and we can't see it, so we don't believe it. And it can't be monitored, but it's not something that the typical beekeeper or even science determines as valuable, since bees are pollinators.
Well, I know that one of the key ways that you are working differently with the bees is that you are using frequencies, and that you understood that in order for the bees to recover and be healthy again, they needed the frequency of a healthy hive. So can you talk about how that began your work?
I began with learning about frequencies, first of all, just from my background in quantum biofeedback, and you learn about frequencies there. But what I learned, which was most important, was that all colony insects locate their hives over geopathic stress zones. Now, they're called geopathic stress zones because they're stressful to us, but they're not stressful, obviously, to these colonies that are highly compact, and this added energy enhances their ability to function as a community. So we're placing our hives anywhere and everywhere, and in the work with Slim Sperling and Bill Reed, they have energy tools that clear fields and create highly coherent fields. So when you place these in or around, not in, excuse me, around the hives, these will create an energy field that is beneficial to the bees at a higher level, so that they are less stressed and can work more efficiently. And that brings me into the CDs. Should we go there right now or not?
Ah, sure.
Okay,
Please.
so as being a Jungian psychologist has taught me to listen. You've got to listen to what we all know now as higher self. And so while I was taking a class in medication on medicating the bees, you pre-medicate, it's kind of like vaccinate the bees all year round. I kept hearing frequencies, frequencies, frequencies. And to make a long story short, I ended up recording the bee healthy hives inside the hive, and then my thought was playing that CD back to them. which is rather tedious, but initially I would be playing the CD all the time. And in playing the CD, this is one, for example, a summer CD, in playing the CD all the time, not only was it beneficial to the hive, none of my hives have ever had any disease or parasites, um, but I also began to realize very quickly that it was having a very powerful beneficial effect on myself.
Yeah. So now you have a set of 4 CDs, and I think this is an important point that a lot of people might not understand or get, and that is that the development of the hive has different frequencies at different times. So you don't, that's a part of that finer tuning of awareness to what's happening with the bees, to understand that you don't give them a frequency of springtime energies in building the hive. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but uh, the same as you would use in the fall, correct? So can you talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
that's true. I have 4 CDs, and this is a summer one, and I'm not going in order here. Here's the spring,
Mm-hmm.
and here is the no, this is the fall winter, and this is the creation CD.
Mm-hmm.
And the CDs vary because the creation CDs, for example, is I captured by recording inside the hive of the bees dedicated to making comb. And so in making comb, they have to keep the temperature of the hive at a certain range, and they have to keep it high so that there's plasticity in the comb, in the wax. And they're working with sacred geometry. They're
Mm-hmm.
working at the frequency of sacred geometry because they're creating the forms in this frequency range wherein all of the bees are vibrating their thoracic muscles at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
actually we can hear it because I could put it on iTunes and we could listen to it, but that will be a moment. The next one is the spring CD. The spring CD is a very high frequency CD, and it's 100% female. At that time, during the winter, all of the drones are cast overboard because they don't contribute to the winter hive, so they should not be eating. So in the spring, the queen has to lay drone eggs. So at this point in early spring, there are no males in there, and it's a clearing, cleaning, high-frequency hive. The queen is laying, she can lay up to 3,000 eggs a day if she's a healthy queen. The next CD is the summer CD, and I call this one Buddha in the Marketplace because everything now is happening in the hive. The queen's laying, they're making cells, they're cleaning cells, they're bringing in food, water, nectar, pollen. So everything is happening in that hive. And then the next one, the last one, I call Fall Winter. And it is actually a CD where we dowsed the summer CD to find out if there was another beneficial speed. And it was not our intention to reference ourselves in that because we were thinking about the bees. However, this CD is at a lower speed, 33% lower than the summer, and this one immediately had healing effects on the human body.
Right. And so here's where the tie-in is that is keeping us from being in resonance with them, not just thinking about what they can do for us in terms of pollen and honey, but on a whole larger scale of understanding the spiritual aspect of them and their gifting to us. You mentioned sacred geometry a little bit before, and I know you've told me before that the bees also fly in an infinity pattern as they exit and come back to the hive, and that all of this is very intentional on a very high vibration level. Can you talk a little bit about that?
The bees, well, someone asked me if I could relate the bee to a human being. What human being would it be? And, I thought some time, and to my surprise, I came up with Jesus, or a highly spiritual human being, because every single thing that is of the bee and hive, is beneficial to its environment. And so they are at such a high frequency. One thing you were referring to was the dance, the waggle dance, where they do the 8, the infinity sign, and then flying out and coming back. Um, the bee is a highly spiritual organism, and we keep referring to the bee because it's culturally in our mind in that way. But in fact, it's the hive. A bee in nature is in chaos. And the bees within the hive have one purpose. This would be called the living unified field. There's one purpose in the hive, and that's to serve nature. To serve nature, they serve. And in that one purpose, you have to think, well, what is the highest single purpose, which would be unconditional love. And that's the field they create in their environment.
I love that metaphor of the hive and thinking more in terms of this as a parallel for humans. It's not about the individual human, and I think this is where we've failed and where things are falling apart. If we could understand this model and embrace the larger community and what is for the good of the whole, for the good of all life, certainly we would be moving in a different direction.
I entirely agree with you. I'm going to have to move a bit here because it is about one purpose, and it is about, as opposed to, going someplace, I'm sorry, my
Yeah,
battery it just showed I had a low battery. um,
okay.
it, it is about, if we think about going someplace and meeting people, often our thought is, I wonder how I'll benefit by this. What are the benefits? And we're taught this. We're taught as professionals, you must give out your business card 10 times a day. And so we aren't thinking about what we're offering or contributing. We're thinking about what am I going to get from this.
Right.
And so that's how we evaluate at the end of the day, was this a good day or not? What did I get from this day? As opposed to what did I give to this day? We
Yeah.
don't think about what we give is what we receive. And
Yeah.
that's how the bees are. The bees don't stop giving, and what they receive is peace and love.
Right. Valerie, this is such a beautiful conversation, and there is so much that I think people are going to want to know more about you and what you're doing. I hope so, because we need more of this. I know your results with the bees and helping the hives to recover has been phenomenal, beyond any of the other approaches. And you live up in the mountains in Colorado, which isn't necessarily the, I don't know.
Be friendly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you've got a lot of bears around there too that probably are thinking bee honey is a pretty good idea. But so obviously you're on the right track. You're doing things that are making a difference, and I hope many people will watch this video, that they will get inspired to learn more about what you're doing. And before we conclude, like I said, there's so much more that we could go into, but I want to give people a sampling. I want to whet their appetite for this information, and we can go deeper at another time if we get lots of people saying, hey, I want to know more about that. But for now, will you please give people the best way to find out about your book, your CDs, what you're up to, a blog site, or where to go to get any of that?
First, I'd just like to mention Sunday, July 20th, we're going to hold the first Be of One Mind event in Hygiene, Colorado. And that the information is on my website, healingbees.org. has most of my research and is more bee-oriented, whereas healingbees.us is more about the human healing aspect of what the hives offer. And on both of those sites, you have a product page, and you can order from the product page. It also has my email, healingbees@gmail.com, where we can start a conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a delight to know you, and I really feel deep, deep gratitude for what you're bringing us through this beautiful work.
And I have to reflect all that back to you, Dawn, at what you do and consistently do in your life.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye.